It is the last day of July, and as we head into the first day of August, we're going to be looking at the historic returns for August and fit that into the overall ongoing picture that we have been painting for Bitcoin with all of the various setups going on in the background. And then, of course, today is it's a JPOW day. It's a JPOW day, meaning that markets have a nice little catalyst to be moving on top of. Well, other than that, I think I'm going to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel, and it is just time to jump right in this one. So we're going to start off with the monthly returns. The monthly returns for August, and in this case, we can see just from looking at the looking at all of these prior Augusts, which are represented by these vertical bars here, it actually has certainly been weighted more to a negative closing month, actually, historically speaking. In fact, many breakdowns coming in August as well. I want to highlight a few of these just so that we can be on the same page. But coming in from August 2011 off of this cycle high, then again in August of 2014 on this, off of the cycle bull trap. And then I believe we see another one back on over here in August of 2018, coming off yet another kind of semi mid-cycle bull trap there as well. Anyways, other than that, August has been kind of a more boring month. I mean, you do kind of expect that, especially in traditional markets, as August is typically a vacation month. So a lot of people, take their ball home and say, fuck this game. So very little typically goes on, especially to the upside is what we have seen in the past. So what I will now go through is the full statistics broken down by this month of August. And I have gone through all prior 14 Augusts and found that out of 14 Augusts, only five closed positively. So it does have one of the lowest probabilities, historically speaking, to close positively. It doesn't mean that it's a certainty that it will close negatively, obviously, as we'll be looking at a little bit later. But 35.71% of the time it has closed positively, which is very, very low. I mean, a lot of people typically look at September or October as one of the worst months. It's actually August. August is probably one of the worst months, or if not the worst month. Now, in terms of the average loss that we expect in August, we have seen an average loss of about 15.25%. If you do combine all of those prior Augusties, if that's the plural word for it, really there was only one August that was like a major outlier in that term compared to the rest of the data, which was the second August that Bitcoin saw in, I believe, 2011, and that was losing about 38.5%. So other than that, most of them were in kind of like the mid to low teens. We saw a couple single digit ones as well, but ultimately most of them were like mid to low teens, essentially. On the other side, when we have seen a positive closing month for August, there has been an average return of almost 25%, about 24.5% right there. As you can see, that is massively carried by the 8th August that Bitcoin did see, which was a over 65% gainer. Other than that, we do see kind of muted gains for August, essentially, with single digits popping up twice here, and 13% coming up in one of the more recent positive ones. But ultimately, August, if we were to get rid of that, what I would consider an outlier, that would actually bring the average return close to about 14.5%. Now I will bring that back on, which I think is Control Z. Yes, there we go. Okay, beautiful. Got my hotkeys ready right there. And what I want to do now is I want to go through August, assuming that, August probably opens somewhere around here, meaning that we're going to make a major assumption. It's kind of a major assumption that July is going to close basically around $66,000. And if we were to play around those averages, again, keeping in mind about 15% to the downside versus about 25%, or let's say 15% to the upside as well, actually. Get rid of that outlier. Well, 15% to the downside would put Bitcoin basically back down around the current low, actually. Oh, sorry, I'm actually taking that from the open of this month, but let's see, 66 or so. Yeah, 15% puts Bitcoin back down around $56,000. So Gap boys would be very, very happy with something like that. I do believe personally that if we did see something like that, it's very likely that there's going to be more to come on top of that, as that would violate one of the key principles or one of the key setups that we've been looking at that fired off last week with the hash ribbons indicator, which would suggest that we don't expect any major closures below that current low. So coming back down to retest it would certainly, put that into question. Now, 15% to the upside, again, assuming Bitcoin closes somewhere around here at the end of the day, would put Bitcoin around 76,600. So that would be, somewhat modest gain for Bitcoin here. Of course, if it did go look closer to like the real average, again, that would be including that, what I would consider a major outlier, that'd be 24%. That'd put Bitcoin in the low 80s. Now, again, just because Bitcoin does have typically a bad time during August doesn't mean that all Augustees are going to be bad. And I just realized that you actually can't see the full right side of this as well. There we go. I'm just referencing this down. It's like, you can't even fucking see it. My bad. It's a herpety derp morning, I guess. But yeah. It doesn't mean that it's 100% guaranteed. It just means that it's more likely, of course, given the history of this asset. And we have seen these statistics play out. They were almost playing out like every fucking month to the T for what seemed like a little over a year. And then as of like the last 3 months, we haven't really seen them play that well with it. It's kind of just been more or less consolidation. As you can see right here, there hasn't really been a whole hell of a lot going on in terms of actual price action. So, again, keeping that in mind, probably some good boundaries to be aware of coming into this next month of August. I am going to be still very likely biased towards an upside resolution of this, just based off of that hash ribbons setup that we spoke about again last week and several times this week as well. But remember, this is also going to be in conjunction with. Let me just get out. Get out this chart right here as well with the setup that we spoke about yesterday, the 5-day 5 exponential moving average setup, just the most simplistic herpety derp compatible setup for long term. If you're more of like a long term, I guess, swing trader, if you will, just blindly opening up a long when Bitcoin reclaims the 5 exponential and then closing that long when Bitcoin loses it, has led to pretty damn good results over time. Again, some outliers in this data when we include all the history. This area over here from the first few years of Bitcoin is just, in my opinion, like not super relevant because it's too good. It's too fucking good. But if we get rid of that and we just measure from like 2013, a little bit more modern time of Bitcoin, still this would be very much acceptable as far as I'm concerned. It looks a lot more reasonable, even if that's kind of looks crazy anyways. We can see that this does have just over a coin flip's probability of turning of closing positively, but most importantly is that long term this one does have a nice up and to the right equity curve because the losses are certainly limited in comparison to the gains. The average winning trade returns over 50%. The average losing trade loses an average of 7%. Like, it doesn't take a fucking genius to be profitable like that, obviously. That's why I say it's herpety derp. It's herpety derp compatible, which is good for me today because I'm in herpety derp mode. My brain just does not seem to be turning on as of this moment. So this one again fired off officially on the Friday. Yeah, actually was this last Friday? Friday the 19th, when Bitcoin was trading at $66,000. So pretty much where Bitcoin's at right now. So it is pretty much a wash in terms of what we've seen thus far. But again, slightly higher probability of this one moving to the upside, and 50% from that open would put us where, or would put Bitcoin where? That put Bitcoin close to that 6-digit number that I think a lot of people are looking for. Of course, there's gonna be variance within that number, but even just 20% up from here would look pretty damn good. By the same token, there's a very obvious invalidation point for this. The first closure below that red moving average, the 5 exponential, and it's over. It's done. It's kaput. And that is, at current rate, 65,300, essentially the low of last night's dump. So what are we trying to say? Look, as long as Bitcoin's above there, it's better to be assuming more upside continuation rather than a reversal in August. But even in August, I mean, we might not see a whole hell of a lot of price action. It's very, very possible here because when we go into the performance summary, we can see that the average amount of bars in the winning trades is 10. The average amount of bars in the losing trades is actually 2, and this one's on 2 right now, actually. But 10 from that entry would put us where? That'd put us 50 days out from that entry, which would be after the first week of September. So, it can still take some time, obviously. I imagine maybe the first portion of August is not going to be that eventful. It does seem like if we were going to see major continuation, it probably would have started to happen earlier this week. Instead, we did get continuation to $70,000, but so far, not accepted above there. So the back to the drawing board as far as I'm concerned. So again, if you're interested in this particular tool, the skeleton key, which allows you to actually set up any sort of setup that really you can think of on TradingView pretty much, and back test it, and even automate your trade execution. That would be this tool right here, which we actually just had a promotional period for. The reason why I point that out is because I know I'm going to get, every time I talk about it, every fucking time I talk about it, I get some emails about it, which is good. I mean, obviously people are starting to wake up to the power of these tools and, just like what real trading actually looks like. But at the same time, it can drive me crazy getting the same questions. So that's why I try to talk about it in these videos. All right. We've got that. Yes, also as of last night's movement, or at least last night for myself, living in Finland, we do see that there is potential for hidden bullish divergence forming here on the daily RSI. Now, it is not confirmed just yet. As with any sort of divergence, you need to see a confirmed local low or local high to actually compare it with. That's one major thing that I think a lot of people get wrong or just don't even fucking consider or don't even know. Again, on a closing basis, and it is a potential here, but it would still need some work. You need to confirm a local low. So how would you confirm a local low so that this low would be a lower low compared to what we did see on the 24th of July? Well, we need to see Bitcoin pop back up and specifically close above about $67,000. If you see that on a daily closing basis, yes, that'll be confirmed as a local low, thus a higher low, thus confirming hidden bullish evidence right here, thus likely be getting one more try above $70,000, and at that point, it's probably likely to break if and when that does happen. But again, that is an assumption. You need to see a confirmed local low, so that's what needs to happen. Again, Bitcoin does have a nice, not Bitcoin, but markets in general have a good catalyst today with the FOMC coming up. So if there is going to be any sort of change in the current structure before the end of the month, that's probably the time that you're looking for. In fact, I didn't bring up my price statistics today, but I will right now. Let me just bring it up one moment, because Wednesday is, as we're about to see, the most volatile day. Or actually, no, it's not the most volatile day anymore. Monday is the most volatile day. Huh, interesting. All right. Fair enough. I stand corrected. I guess Wednesday sucks. But I should say Wednesday actually does have one of the highest returns for those for positive closing weekdays. In fact, it is the highest returns for positive closing weekdays. It does not, however, have a higher probability to close positively than negatively, at least since this year began, which it is actually in favor of the negative side by about 56.5%. So do be aware of that. Of course, we love our ranges based upon this. 3.5% to the upside, or just about 3.5% to the upside, would put Bitcoin at a retest of 68.8. And of course, to the downside, about 2% to the downside would put Bitcoin a little bit lower than yesterday's lows, like closer to 65. So ultimately, likely the boundaries for today. I don't think that we're going to see like a major break today, to be honest with you, whether it be to the upside or the downside. And then, of course, the last thing I want to mention here is the monthly stochastic oscillator, which we're going to get a new update to this. When the clock strikes zero, we get August 1st. As of right now, in order to force the monthly stochastic oscillator back onto the upside, very unlikely, at least I would say, because the current pivot is 68,600. So more than $2,000 away from where Bitcoin is currently trading as of now. What I'm more interested in is what this pivot is going to be coming into August. So tomorrow we will know the answer to this question, but does that number go down, specifically like close to where price action currently is right now, or especially below where price action currently is right now? That would be a damn good indication that Bitcoin will very likely have a positive August. If the number goes up, if it goes up to let's say $70,000, probably a good indication Bitcoin's going to continue to be consolidating at best and corrective at worst. So do keep an eye on that if you do have this indicator right here as well. And then, like I said, I will of course cover that in tomorrow's video when the time does come. And then we'll reference the accumulation distribution indicator as well. And I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this video. So mostly a setup for tomorrow to come, all depending upon where Bitcoin kind of closes today and where these numbers open up tomorrow. But still, just kind of like a general sort of analysis here. I still like what's going on with the 5-day, or it's not necessarily that I like it, but as far as setups go, as long as Bitcoin's above the 5-day 5 exponential, just as simplistic as possible, it's hard to be bearish, and should be looking for sideways and up. The second that Bitcoin closes below, however, that is when it is time to be considerate of a correction, probably closer to $60,000. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to the bridge to cross, and we'll end this video at that moment as well. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and live stream tomorrow, and we'll end on that note. See you soon.